Welcome to The Consult Room, your go-to podcast for all things anti-aging, aesthetics, and plastic surgery. We're your hosts, Brittany and Dr. Jonathan Weiler, and each week we'll dive deep into the latest trends, expert insights, and real stories from the world of beauty and wellness. Hey everyone, I'm Brittany DeSherry, COO over at Rejuvime Medical, the age-defying clinic, and I have with me today, of course, Dr. Jonathan Weiler.
Yep, I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon. Got the Weiler Plastic Surgery Clinic and also work with Brittany over at Rejuvime. And we're here on our podcast today. We're missing our trio.
I know, we're missing one. Taylor will be back with us next week.
Yep, she has more important things to do than sit here and talk to us, obviously.
Which is obviously nothing that important.
I know. Britt was just telling me off camera how wonderful her day was yesterday.
I did. I had a great day yesterday. I'm hoping that things are still going to roll for me through the end of the week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yep. And you mentioned you had a procedure done yesterday that will be a feature topic.
I did.
So you have a healthy glow.
I know. I can't wait to get into our aesthetic side of things. Yesterday I did microneedling, and I feel so glowy and tight this morning.
You look good.
But I know we'll have to do it. I'll take a picture every single day. I was like, and then we can kind of do like a microneedling journey.
Absolutely.
But that'll be for another episode today.
What's our topic?
Today we're going to talk about the hot thing right now, which is semaglutide.
All right.
The GLP-1.
Yes. GLP-1, such a hot topic, right? It's everywhere. You can't turn on the TV without seeing a commercial.
No.
You can't be online without getting fed.
No, it's literally
imagery.
everywhere.
It literally is. And it's been quite a journey, me and you over at Rejuvime. And Rejuvime has really accelerated its growth with the GLP-1s over the last few years. And GLP-1s really are, in my mind, a amazing, magnificent new drug, right?
Yeah, the GLP-1s, when they originally came out, I remember I was in the hospital.
Right.
When I was working in the hospital when they originally came out, and how amazing they were on the diabetic side of things, and just seeing them be able to, see exactly what all they can do and break into this market of things. It's been pretty amazing.
It is, and the OG of GLP-1s is semaglutide, right?
Yes.
Otherwise known as Ozempic, otherwise known as Wegovy.
Yep.
Right? Everybody knows the commercial, right?
Yes.
They've done
Ozempic. Yeah. That's
done an amazing
definitely
job with the advertising. They actually had, I'm kind of a nerd, I was watching 60 Minutes on Sunday. They had a big, 20-minute episode on Novo Nordisk, which is a Norway company, which produces the semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, and it was a very interesting little 60 Minutes episode. The company was founded almost 100 years ago because of insulin.
Really?
So it is a diabetic forward company. And they are the ones that actually interviewed the scientists. She still works in an office sharing environment. She still walks to work. She's a middle-aged lady, very humble, and hasn't seen any financial benefit from it personally. Norway's somewhat of a socialist country.
I was about to say, a little different.
So actually 75% of the company is owned by the country retirement account or investment accounts, which is crazy. So every single Norway citizen is benefiting from this surge of GLP-1s. It was an interesting story.
That's neat. I'm gonna have to go. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go back and watch that. Which is because these GLP-1s started out as diabetic medication.
Correct. They were developed. They were indicated, and that's why I told you that little story is because Novo Nordisk, the company that produces this medication and developed the medication, is in their primary business. Now they do all kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
Is diabetes related research. They were founded on insulin. They actually got it from a Canadian doc, and he brought it over. And the guy told them he could have it for free if they used it for the greater good of humanity. And so that's how they got into it. And obviously they've been working on GLP-1s for 20-something years. Started maybe more than that. I think it started in the late 80s, the research. And like I said, semaglutide really is the OG, right?
Yeah.
And what is a GLP-1, right?
How's it work?
How does it
work? Do? What's it,
Right, and not to get too crazy here with medicine, right? But it's a glucagon-like peptide receptor, right? It lives in your body, in your gut, in your pancreas. It can also live in your stomach area and intestine, so generally in that area. And it is a receptor that they discovered that does many things. And its primary mode of action, or the way that we understand it, is that it binds to a receptor and causes your pancreas to increase insulin production and decrease glucagon production. So everybody knows well, not everybody, but glucose, right, is a sugar.
It's sugar,
right?
yeah.
And your body runs on sugar, basically. And so, sort of like how a car runs on gas, our body runs on sugar. Sugar can be stored in multiple ways. And that's why, some people are heavier than others. The storage can be stored in fat.
Yeah.
It's stored in muscle.
Different places.
It can be your brain. You never eat up your brain, you would die. But, that's why, like in extreme starvation, you lose muscles because it's releasing sugar. So, and it's a little more complex than that. But your body runs on sugar. And so essentially what this receptor does is it increases your insulin. It decreases your glucagon production, which therefore decreases the glucose or your sugar in your blood, right? So diabetes is high sugar.
Yes.
Right? And it's a sweet, like your urine, if you're diabetic and untreated, is sweet.
Yep.
Right? And that's sort of how it came about, diabetes and sugars and all that stuff. It's because your body has so much sugar in it, your body's trying to get rid of it, you pee it out.
Yep. Yeah, I was about to say, what they had I remember in nursing school, they had all the sayings, and it was, when you're like the sugar's high, it was something about you're nice and dry or something like that. And then it's like if your sugar's low, then you need a piece of candy. Like they had all kinds of different things that you could say that,
Yeah, and it's really if you think about like body physiology, and I'm a physician, and I know a decent amount about it, but I think the basis of it's really pretty simple, right? So high sugar, bad, all right? Controlled sugar and even lower sugar is good.
Yeah.
Not super low, hypoglycemia, right, is really, really rare. People, you'll feel bad, but like serious medical issues of hypoglycemic is extremely rare, right? Yeah. Extreme hypoglycemia is like seizures and things like that. And you've got to, it's
got to be, even in the hospital. I mean, like, I don't think I've ever came across somebody that it was always somebody coming in for, extremely high sugar, diabetic,
hyperglycemia,
like diabetic
500,
ketoacidosis,
600, right?
Yes.
I had a girlfriend, I had a girlfriend once that was driving and somebody hit her, but they were in a diabetic coma.
Yeah.
And she had to jump in the car and turn the car off because it kept moving. So hyperglycemia is much, much more common. Hypoglycemia, it certainly occurs and it kind of makes you feel bad.
Yeah.
But extreme hypoglycemia is really rare. But the better you control your sugar, the healthier you are. So insulin, what it does is it decreases the glucose in your bloodstream, and glucagon causes your body to release more glucose, right? And so this receptor is being stimulated by these medications. And there's multiple ways to give this receptor. And what Novo Nordisk or what Ozempic, or we'll call it semaglutide, they found out that the best way to do it, the most stable way to present this molecule is through an injection.
Okay.
You hear about people taking the daily pill.
Yeah.
Doesn't work very well,
yeah.
right? There's a couple other medications that have gone through FDA process and didn't work very well. But the breakthrough was creating stability of this GLP-1 and figured out that you could inject it and it would stay in your bloodstream for about a week.
Okay.
And it's been amazing. Now, all right, so that's basically how it works.
Yeah.
But what they found out...
Those glorious side effects.
The glorious side
effects.
And this is where it gets a little bit more complex, right? And so I would say, okay, the first side effect is they found out that, number one, it sort of decreases your stomach emptying time, right? It doesn't paralyze your stomach, right? But it decreases
Takes a little longer.
Right. So as a nurse, right, you know that when you eat, right, your food goes down your esophagus and then goes into your stomach, which is like, think of it like I know it sounds crazy. I like think of it like kind of like a bagpipe.
Okay, got it. All right,
It's a little crazy, right?
A little bagpipe belly.
It kind of extends and accommodates, right? And then it kind of squeezes the food out, and you have a little sphincter. We all know what a sphincter is, right? And it opens and releases that ground up food.
Yeah.
And so what they figured out is that it actually slows down gastric emptying. So when you slow down the emptying of your food, you feel more full.
Yeah, you're full longer.
Right.
Yeah, you don't need all of it.
Right.
And
you know how so your mama used to always say, not necessarily, but to me, push yourself away, slow down, right? The food's not going anywhere, right?
Nope, take time.
Take your time, right? And the reason people tell you that is because when you eat slower, you eat less.
Yes.
Because your stomach feels more full because it takes more time. So what this medication does is it actually physically continues to slow down your gastric emptying. So you eat half of your meal.
So with that appetite, with the appetite suppression that you get from it, the fact that the food is just sitting in there a little bit longer, this medicine that's working into it, is that effect? So is it taking your body longer to get the sugar out of it, which is why?
Well, I mean, not necessarily.
Or like the energy out of it, if you will.
Not necessarily. So your body does best with even, steady energy, right? And when you eat a lot of food and your body dumps that food, right? You get these spikes.
Yeah.
High sugars, and then your body crashes back down. And that's why people start to feel bad. That's why, nutritionists say, hey, you ought to eat 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
Not one giant meal. That is the most unhealthy thing you can do in your entire life, right? You don't want to feast for one giant meal and then, not eat. So, the body wants, just sort of continuous nutritional input. And so the satiety effect, and we'll get into that, is really because it's really mechanical at that point. Now, so mechanically, it slows down your gastric emptying. Your stomach feels more full. When your stomach is distended, it gives your brain an indication that, hey, I don't need to eat anymore. So how you feel bloated, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel bloated, and not from these medications, but if you just feel bloated in general, the last thing in the world you want to do is eat.
Yeah.
Right? I'm so bloated, I can't eat anything, right?
Let me see if I can just shove something a little bit more in there.
Right. So the actual physical distension of the stomach affects, and it makes you feel more full. Now, we also know that it also affects a part of your brain, okay? And not only is the physical distension causing your decreased appetite, but it actually does something chemically in your brain that decreases your drive for food.
To make me want to eat.
Correct.
I don't want to eat because my belly's too big at this. I got my bagpipe belly.
And this is where these medications are getting into, I call it the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And so people are starting to use these medications for treatment of addiction, bad behaviors. We are seeing all sort of side effects, and we're not going to necessarily, this is a podcast about, aesthetics and wellness. So we're not going to get into all the crazy stuff, but they're seeing all types of weird, dramatic, beneficial effects of this medication.
Yeah, I feel like when the GLP-1 class came out, everybody immediately was just like, the things that it can do.
Yeah.
It is endless on the things that it can do.
And now a lot of it is related to being healthier.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as a physician and as a surgeon, right, it is extremely rare to see patients 60 or above that are morbidly obese. I like to think simply. And my motto is the skinnier you are, the healthier you are. Now, there, I believe, is a culture of fat shaming in this country.
Yes.
Okay. We look at heavier people as being lazy or not productive, which is totally untrue.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy in my camp that was significantly heavier than me in my hunting camp, a big duck hunter. He would wear me out. I mean, and I feel like I'm in decent shape. I would need a break from spending the weekend with this guy.
Well, I mean, it's the same. I feel like it's the same way. Like everybody, my husband is a very large individual, but he was an offensive lineman for so long.
He's a huge man.
Some people are he's just big.
Well, genetically, some people. So I like to talk about my wife. I love my wife, and she's going to kill me when I say this, but my wife is somewhat of a genetic freak. I always tell her, she can eat cookies before she goes to bed, and we're 50 plus, and may gain a pound, and she's like, I gained a pound or two. I'm like, well, that's because you're eating cookies and milk before you go to bed. Most people would be morbidly obese. But do
you want your cookies and milk with a 1 pound like it's going to be?
And I myself, I mean, look, it's a long story. I had a major accident, and at some point we'll get into it. So I have an inability to really absorb fat, and so I can't get heavy.
Yeah.
So I can eat everything I want, and basically it runs through me. So it's whether it's good or bad. I have been blessed with the inability to gain weight.
Wow.
But some people, literally, I say, like, if they sniff a cookie, they gain a pound, and it's a pound a week.
Yes.
And over 2 or 3 years, that adds up to significant weight.
Yeah.
And they're not doing, it's just, so a lot of it is genetics these days. We were not built to consume the amount of calories that are out there.
Everything that we consume.
Right. And then a lot of it is lifestyle. We as a surgeon, I stand and I work all day, but let's say you're an attorney. You're sitting there all day at a desk, right?
A lot a lot now.
Let's say you're running a company. I mean, you're active, but oftentimes you're sitting in meetings, and that's what you're doing.
I feel like everything, the way all things now are going to this electronic computer type situation now. So I feel like there's so much more sedentary work.
We're turning into. If you ever watch Wall-E, you got kids. You ever watch Wall-E? All the people on the giant floating recliners.
Yes,
with the tiny little nubs, and they can't even get out.
That's where
we're headed.
Yeah, because everything that we do now is behind a desk on a computer.
It is.
It's got.
So I tell them. So there's so many things, and then also the food these days, right? I mean, it's not like we're going out into our gardens. Most of us, we don't have the time to go out, and and more power to people that do that, right? But you have kids. I've got kids. I'm married. Got a business. You run a business. It is tough to wake up, go out in your garden,
meal prep. Get out of here! I'm not doing that. That's too much.
I always tell a story. So some of my locations are in rural America, and so I had an older man come in. He was in his 90s. This was about 10 years ago. And he told me he lived in rural Ponchatoula, which is a small town in Louisiana.
Yeah.
And I was asking him about as he was young. He said, he grew up in a 2-room cabin. His mom would wake up in the winter. She would go out, get wood, start the fire. She would then go out. She would get the eggs. She would bake bread in the morning. This is all in the morning.
This is like
make
for
him an egg.
No.
This is for a school lunch. Make him an egg sandwich. This is a poor guy. An egg sandwich from scratch every single morning for his lunch. And think about the work that entails.
No, I know exactly what that is. And my kids are, getting a peanut butter and jelly and like, good luck and Godspeed, guys.
Exactly. So, so one is, genetics plays a lot into it. 2 is just our lifestyle. And then 3 is the way or what's available to us for food, right?
Yeah. We live in South Louisiana as well. That is not helpful.
It's not helpful.
When we talk about anything at all, it's everything is fried. It's got a sauce on it. And don't get me wrong, it's absolutely delicious. But it is definitely not good for arteries, weight management, any of the things.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm going duck hunting this weekend. And one of the guys that comes, he's a shrimp. He used to shrimp. And he brings soft shell shrimp, which almost no one's ever had.
Because
the shrimpers always pull it out and save it for themselves. But it's like a soft shell crab. You eat the entire thing, and it's got a completely different taste. So I'm getting off. I'm getting off about South Louisiana food.
Speaking of GLP-1s, maybe you should bring some to the duck camp.
I know.
No, but why? So why is everybody? Obviously throughout the years, there's been so many different weight loss clinics, things like that. They've always had medication on the market that has assisted in weight loss. Why are these GLP-1s like the forefront?
Why are the bomb from bomb.com, right?
Why are they? This is the thing. This is now the gold standard, it seems.
All right. So there are multiple reasons. So there has been weight loss medications on the market, right? In fen-phen, phentermine, Adipex. Okay. Now the problem is those medications came with pretty bad side effects.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking, make you feel bad and make your body bad if you weren't careful. Now they certainly could be effective, but you really you could only go on them for a month or 2 at a time. You had to get blood pressure checks on at least a monthly basis.
Okay.
Labs. You like hardcore medical management.
Yeah.
And then there was a huge rebound effect afterwards, like a slingshot. So the reasons that these medications are so popular, number one, they work.
Yeah.
All right. So it's, I'm in the business of medicine, aesthetic medicine. So we sell Latisse. Okay. And I tell patients the reason we sell Latisse is because if you use Latisse and you use it like directed, you will eventually have to trim your eyelashes.
Yes.
Right. It works. And so these GLP-1s, specifically semaglutide, and there is another generic, it's called tirzepatide out there.
Yes.
But we're going to focus on semaglutide because that's the OG. It works. You take it, and I'd say in 97% of patients, it has an effect. Now, there's different dosages, okay? So it works. Number two, side effect profile is not that bad. Okay?
Yeah.
And so the side effects, you can get some diarrhea, okay? You can get some nausea.
Indigestion.
You can get some indigestion,
from the slowing of the,
Right, and most of that is from the slowing down of the gut. That is oftentimes dose dependent, right? So these are medications that you start on a weekly basis. You start at a starter dose, and then you have to ramp it up. I have patients that come in, they're like, Dr. Weiler, it doesn't work for me. Okay. Well, did you ever go above your starting dose?
No.
So the reason the starting dose is there is because it minimizes side effects. Your body gets used to it, and then you can ramp up depending on your BMI or what your body needs. You can ramp it up from there. So now there are there is one, like you read about pancreatitis, right? And so that is the worst side effect.
Yes.
And so because this medication is affecting the receptors in your pancreas, there is a very, very, very small risk of pancreatitis. Very small. I don't think we've ever seen one before.
I don't think we've ever had a pancreatitis.
And we manage
No.
thousands of patients at Rejuvime.
Correct.
We have a huge multi-location practice. We have never seen it. So pancreatitis is a very serious disease. It can occur for multiple reasons. There's literally a list of 100 of them.
Yeah.
And they have seen some pancreatitis with this medication, but it's extremely rare. I tell people, and I'd be very honest about this, you are more at risk on the interstate than you are taking this medication. The interstate is fairly dangerous.
A dangerous roadway.
Especially Baton Rouge.
I mean, it seems, like there's, minimal side effects. And like it says, it seems to be like regular side effects that you're going to be dealing with anyway if you are eating South Louisiana food.
Yes.
So, but with that being said, is there anybody that shouldn't take it? Who should just, anybody off limits?
I would say just about everybody is a candidate.
Okay.
I would say talk to your providers. There are a few exceptions here and there.
Yeah.
But I would say those exceptions are few and far between.
So, this is just for everyone.
Yeah.
This is for the masses.
Yeah. And so a lot of this is, hey, look, and the other, I think, misconception about this stuff is there's been a lot of, let's call it like Oprah shaming. So, so these medications, okay, they were indicated for diabetic, pre-diabetic, really type 2 diabetes, right? They're not replacing insulin.
Yeah.
They're meant to supplement. And so they're really indicated for, so they came out, and actually they were out for a couple of years before anybody really noticed, which is crazy.
Well, yeah.
Ozempic was around for a while.
But what was out like, was it Victoza that was one of them?
So Victoza came out first, okay, and that was not as effective with weight loss.
Yes.
Because the side effects weren't as good.
The side effects weren't as good,
right.
And nobody was willing to study that one.
Right. And so then Ozempic came out, and it was never really touted as weight loss, and it took a few years to catch on.
Yeah.
And then when it caught on, oh my goodness, it exploded. So it really exploded. I think I want to say it's been out for about 5 to 6 years. The patent is about 6 years old, I believe. And then the popularity has really surged last 2 to 3 years.
I was about to say, I feel like everybody, when 2020 came around and all of us were in this situation, and then, you're constantly hearing about how, these, the factors that you would have that would, if you got COVID, if you were morbidly obese, and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So then everybody got into this like health YOLO kick, and then it's like, oh, we need to be healthier to, so I feel like all of these things was like it was just like the perfect storm of all this stuff that was happening to bring this to the forefront to where everybody was like, oh, we need to be healthier.
Right.
And this is a medication that we can use to do
This is a perfect medication.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the side effects that you're talking about, like with other weight loss drugs. And even with, obviously, like you were saying, we're health and wellness. So with these medications and stuff.
Well, that's the point I wanted to get to. Okay, so these medications were indicated for type 2 diabetes, okay? And that's how they originally came out. Insurance covers them, and they were kind of rolling out. And then people kind of caught on that, hey, these are great weight loss. This is a great tool for weight loss. And so what happened is there is availability to do cash pay on these medications.
Yes,
they
there
are
is.
FDA approved for weight loss, which is not reimbursed by your insurance.
Yes.
There's also compounded semaglutide out there, which
Yes.
is wonderful. And we'll have a whole different episode about that.
Yeah.
But, and so what happened is there was this huge surge in the demand for these medications, and the company was not prepared for it.
No.
The supply chain, and this goes beyond the COVID supply chain issues.
No, this
the
is
actual
just
production
supply
was
and
not there
demand.
because they had no idea this was going to be a blockbuster drug, right? And so it became a blockbuster drug. So there was a lot of shaming going on that people were using this for weight loss and that they should just exercise, eat less, and not be lazy.
Yeah.
And that the type 2 diabetic people deserve it. Okay.
They were suffering because they couldn't get it.
And I think that was a horrible narrative.
Yeah.
So much so that Oprah lied about her weight loss. I don't know if you remember this,
Yes.
right? So she was accused of using semaglutide and she denied it.
Yes.
All right. She lost a tremendous, and Oprah, we all know Oprah. Oprah struggled with her weight. She's an attractive, extremely successful woman.
It's been up and down since the 80s.
Exactly. And she's done all kind of stuff
Yeah.
for it, right? And so, finally she came out and apologized and said, I'm sorry, I lied. We need to stop this culture of fat shaming and body shaming and having this disparaging opinion of people that have trouble with their weight. And it was really a transformative. She even did a special.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And so it was an amazing moment. And so, there was this sort of, people were shaming people. So, we are a wellness clinic. I'm in the business of wellness. And so we use this primarily as a wellness. We treat metabolic syndrome with it. But hey, the side effect is weight loss.
Yeah.
And so this rolls into that, being healthy and being in shape usually transfers to looking good, right?
That it does.
Being well and being healthy is really being slim, in my opinion. And I look at myself like I'm a bulky guy. I'd like to lose 5 or 10 pounds. I take a little bit of blood pressure medication. I've thought long and hard about getting on it. I mean, I've tried it before. I do have some gut issues. But I may get back on it just to lose that 5 pounds so I can get off my blood pressure medications. And so it's a medication that people can use as a tool
To help.
to help them maintain a healthy, attractive weight. You don't have to be obese to be on these medications.
No, and I think that's where, that's where I feel like the focus really is. It's like you can be healthy in so many other areas.
Correct.
If you have a little bit of weight taken off, like you said, you can get off of blood pressure medicines. Right. Obviously, these medications, when you eat fatty food versus non-fatty food, you're going to have different side effects. So
it's not going to allow you. I had a patient.
Exactly.
I had a patient came in and she had lost like 40 pounds and she was very honest. She's like, you know what, Dr. Weiler? I love this stuff, but you know what? It doesn't let me eat McDonald's.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Those side effects are going to be a heck of a lot worse on, let's say, French fries rather than carrots and hummus. You know, so I think the overall health that you can receive from this, cardiovascular wise, it probably is beneficial in the lipids area of things, cholesterol. So it's just like all of that as well. I think is
and what I tell people is not only is it's improving your heart function. It's been proven. It is decreasing your cholesterol, your lipids, all those issues. You're losing weight. You're coming off high blood pressure medications. You're coming off your statins. It's improving if you're pre-diabetic. A lot of patients come off their pre-diabetic medications. But it's also not only, and then it's also stimulating your brain in a different way. But it's also training you that eating McDonald's every night. Now, there's not wrong with snacking on a McDonald's. I'm not going to bash on McDonald's.
I love a French fry.
I love a French fry. But hey. Eat McDonald's, run to the bathroom and be nauseated and have diarrhea 20 minutes later, bad.
Yeah.
And so it retrains your brain. It's sort of like Pavlov.
Not good. Exactly.
Like you squirt your cat with water.
Hit
Get
the
off
bell,
the couch.
Exactly.
Right. It's training you, slapping your hand. Stop. And if you do it enough, you do stop.
Yeah.
And so it also reprograms you.
It's a trained behavior.
It's a trained behavior.
For the better. For the better.
And so that's how, I'd say, hey, why as an aesthetic and anti-aging clinic and as a wellness clinic, why are we talking about this? Because weight is so important.
Yeah.
It affects, if you look at, I call the American medical machine, hip and knee replacements, diabetes, high blood pressure, statins, all those are weight-based for the most part. there are genetic predispositions, but if you said you could cut all that probably in half.
Yeah.
Right. If you just managed people's weight better.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe that just about every U.S. citizen in the future will probably be on these
some
medications.
form of GLP-1.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, the way that we're going, health, just everything is so health and wellness now. And it's like, if you have something like we were talking about with the fat shaming earlier, it's like, why do we have to do that? If you want to look better, feel better, why does that bother me? And if you have the means to do so, buy these GLP-1s and have somebody. What's it matter?
What's it matter?
What's it matter? We're making a healthier environment for all of us to be around in. So what's it matter?
Now, my one warning is this stuff is everywhere. Okay. And I'm not.
Oh yeah. No.
Be careful where you get it from.
Make sure.
And be careful who you're dealing with.
Yes.
Just like any other thing that's popular, people take advantage of other people. So make sure that you're going to an established provider.
Make sure you're asking questions.
Make sure you can actually walk in and physically touch them.
Yes.
They exist. They're not over in China. They're not over in.
No.
Actually, I mean, I know it sounds nuts, but the cartels have gotten involved in these medications.
Yes, they have.
And these medications,
we
talked about that. They've gotten involved in cancer medications.
Yes.
Testosterone, because there is such a demand for these medications, and you can counterfeit them so easy. So be careful. Just don't go on a website and randomly order. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So what I tell patients is, I don't care who you go to, but two things: make sure you trust them, and make sure you can go in and physically touch them and have a location.
The thing that I like about Rejuvime is that our nurse practitioners, the fact that you can physically go in and speak with these nurse practitioners, the fact that there is blood work associated with it, that there is a person that you can reach out to if you're having any side effects.
Because these are medications.
This is still medicine. We are still
medicine.
Practicing medicine, and this is something that needs to be monitored by professionals, by people who have license to do so.
It's not an over-the-counter medication.
This
is a prescription medication.
You have to have a prescription for it. Make sure, and like I said, ask questions. When you go and see, like you said, any provider that you wind up going to see, make sure that you're asking where they're getting the medicine from and stuff like that. Because like you said, everybody's getting their hands in it and not the appropriate way.
Yeah, I agree. And then I tell patients is, obviously these medications work, but there are other factors that also cause weight gain. Yeah. And so, if you're truly looking to optimize your health and optimize your physique, there may be some other little levers and we can pull to improve at Rejuvime and any good provider, any
maybe
good aesthetic
a little hormone
wellness.
help along with it is very beneficial for sure.
So I think we're going to bring in one of our guests, right? I love to bring in patients.
Yes. We like to hear those real world experiences, not just what we have to say about it.
All right. So we're going to bring her in and we're going to talk a little bit more.
All right. Sounds good.
From Botox to tummy tucks, we provide patients with real confidence. Weiler Plastic Surgery. Something real.
My weight's always kind of fluctuated throughout the years. I've worked out, did CrossFit, worked out on my own. My weight kind of goes up and down. I do good for a little while. COVID kind of came around and just put on a lot of weight, and then that's when I heard about semaglutide with Rejuvime. I dropped the weight fairly quickly. Being a dad, taking it, I feel revitalized. I feel like my old self. I have a lot of energy. My experience at Rejuvime has been awesome. It's very easy. Everybody's friendly. I would definitely recommend it.
Hi guys, welcome back to the consults before the cut, right?
Yes.
Dr. Weiler, Britt,
and
we have our special guest Jen. She is here today.
Hi.
Before we get going here, I'd like to thank our sponsors, right?
Yes.
The Weiler Plastic Surgery Group, the largest aesthetic plastic surgery group in the state of Louisiana. We cover South Louisiana. We are growing. We have 12 wonderful injectors.
Yes.
And we're about to open our new office in Prairieville. Yeah. I'd like to also thank Rejuvime, right? Rejuvime Medical, the age-defying clinic. It is the Louisiana's largest aesthetic and anti-aging. We specialize in hormone optimization. We also do GLP-1s.
And we're in Mississippi too.
We are in Mississippi too. I forgot about that. Yes, we are on the Gulf Coast, right?
Yes, and we will be opening in Covington.
I'm so excited.
Soon. We'll be opening in Covington.
Just like this topic we're talking about is continuing to grow. Rejuvime Medical is continuing to grow.
Yes.
So I'd like to thank those two sponsors. And we'd like to thank our special guest, excuse me, Jen. I'm not going to use your last name.
Morning, Jen.
Unless you want to. Good to have you here.
Nice to be here. I'm excited.
And so we are talking about GLP-1, specifically about the OG, semaglutide.
Yeah.
And we love to bring in patients, whether it's for any aesthetic procedure, medications, anti-aging, plastic surgery stuff. And we want to hear about your experience.
Yeah.
All right?
Absolutely.
So I have a question. So, just girl talk. Were you just like around and just like, hey, I really just need to lose some pounds. Where do I go? How do I do this? Like, how did you make that decision? Like, I want to seek help in this.
Yeah, so I feel like I've always kind of struggled with my weight since I was a kid. So definitely something that I've explored all the different fads and options for at different times. I've taken other appetite suppressants in the past, and it's helped until, it kind of wears off. You just get out of it, kind of like working out.
Yeah.
So my husband...
Can we be a little more specific? Like, do you mind talking about like, some of the stuff that you've tried in the past? And what you felt with it and how it worked and why it didn't work?
Yeah, so I don't remember the name of it.
That's okay. You don't have to be specific. Yeah.
That's okay.
But it was a oral medication that you took for appetite suppressing. I had gotten it at a weight loss clinic, and I took it for about a month, and it got me to where I needed to be, but it was more temporary. So it kind of shrunk the stomach. Definitely helped with my appetite until, my bad habits got back in. And then
did you have a lot of side effects with the oral?
I would say probably like heart palpitations was probably the one that was the most concerning.
Phentermine, which is very, very common.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
And it does cause issues with your heart.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the reasons why people stay away from it.
Right. It's basically like
speed.
speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Highly controlled by the government.
Yes.
Which it should be appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be effective when used in short bursts. But it's not a great option for long-term sustainability.
And that's where I struggled. It was just kind of, the bouncy, like you get to where you want to be and then you kind of get back into the old routine of things. So my husband actually started taking semaglutide. I'm a late adopter when it comes to new trends and things. So I'm like, you're going to be the guinea pig.
You're more cautious, right? I don't call it late adopter.
I will put my husband in the line of fire. Like here, even like when it's like new food, I'm like, you try first. You try it first.
Yeah, absolutely.
I turn around in a restaurant, there's a fork of food in my face.
You go first. And he's like, you didn't like it? I was like, well, I haven't eaten it yet. You try.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of like watched him, start the journey with it, and he did really well with it. He struggled with his weight too. And then I saw that the side effects weren't as bad as, some of the rumors were, and that, he was having good results. It was maintainable. So that's kind of when I jumped in and wanted to go that route too.
Oh, okay. So he got on it, did really well on it, it seems like, and then you were like, hey, I kind of want to get into this. Yeah, like not fair. Like I want this. So when you went and met with a provider and everything and kind of talked to them, like how'd that go? Like what was your experience with that?
It was really good. I was honestly nervous to go in because you have to kind of tell your history.
Yeah.
All those uncomfortable things that you don't want to talk about.
Yep.
But they were really great. The provider, Bree, was awesome. She made me feel really comfortable opening up. Really the whole staff. It was a great experience across the board. It felt very like I had known these people forever. And I had just met them. So they made me feel really comfortable. They asked me all the questions. We did some lab work. And then from there, we came up with a treatment plan. And that's where I got started.
I feel like when you're talking about weight loss, especially like when you have, I feel like females are a lot more sensitive when it comes to discussing weight loss to have a non-judgmental environment to go into while you're discussing something as sensitive as that. I feel like that is extremely important, especially for us women who, like me, I've had 2 kids. Right. I'm like, I just want to lose weight. It's like how, and you want to tell somebody that and you don't want them to judge you. Like you said earlier, it's the fat shame. And it's, well, you're just being lazy. Right. You're looking for an easy way out. It's like, no, you work out, you go to the gym, you just can't, and looking for a little help.
It's a very vulnerable thing. Right?
Yes.
Right. It's, I'm a plastic surgeon, so it's very vulnerable for a woman to come in and open a robe and say, hey, look at my stomach.
Yeah.
Right? Only my significant other sees this, or nobody sees this.
Yeah.
I'm so ashamed. I keep my underwear on 24/7.
Exactly.
And we have those kind of people. So it is a very vulnerable state to go in and say, hey, I need help.
Yes.
Talk to me, Jen. So like, you said you were a late adopter. You think you were always a late adopter? Was there a particular reason? Were you more fearful of sort of the misinformation? Was it more of like, I call it the Oprah effect, where you felt like people were shaming people for...
I would say probably a little bit of both, if I'm being completely honest. Definitely, I tend to be the more cautious, analyzer type. So I'm going to wait to see how things play out before I just, jump on trend.
Did you do a lot of research about it online, or did you a lot of... So I've got a freshman high schooler, and we were in a car and we were asking about a topic. My wife's like, "Hey, just Google it." My daughter goes, "Google it." We don't Google anything anymore. They don't Google. Teenagers, they social media. They don't Google anything.
Oh yeah, they go to
Google
TikTok.
could be dead in 20 years now. Well, those kids, maybe 10 years, but so did you do research on social media, or did you look online? Did you just talk to people? Because like you said, you are a very analytical person.
Yeah,
I know
yes.
So tell me what brought you there in your analytical mind. Does that sort of make sense?
So absolutely. So I did do some online research, but it's kind of like, I understand do we trust Google? You don't know if it's, you're seeing conflicting things. You don't know which one's right, which one's wrong. Not gonna lie, I did look a little bit on social media because I feel like that's where you will see people take out
that's
like
where we are,
the
right?
best and the worst of everything. So, and then I definitely confided in some medical providers too that I trusted, just to kind of get their opinions on it, and they made me feel comfortable. So that's when I decided, like, okay,
You're gonna take the step.
I'm gonna take the lead.
So I'm gonna, and you can stop me, but I'm gonna reveal you do work in the aesthetic industry, right? You work in the aesthetic industry. You don't work necessarily in the wellness.
Right.
So do you feel like because you work in the aesthetic industry and you're more open to people having aesthetic procedures, which you run some of the clinics for a living, you run estheticians. So do you feel like that made you more open to it, or did that make you more hesitant? Does that sort of make sense? Because it was you personally, and this was sort of a drug that you're injecting in your body. Talk me through that. Was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing that you're a little more closely tied to the industry? Because sometimes, my wife was a NICU nurse, NICU. And when she was pregnant, she thought everything in the world was going to happen, and the kid's going to end up in the NICU. Right?
You know too much.
You know too much.
You know too much, and you don't. It's the same. I think that coming even from like a esthetician side of things and look at it, you know what can happen.
Yes.
And so
that 1 in 100,000.
Even though everything else is just like super gravy and all that good stuff, you're like, nope, we're gonna go to the complete.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the creating consents and reading through all the contraindications. So I'm definitely aware of a lot more than I'd like to sometimes, and I think that definitely feeds into it. Honestly, I was a little nervous being that I'm in the aesthetic side of things of how it would impact my skin and like the laxity and stuff that you hear about. I was definitely concerned more so because of that than the side effects, I would say, just because I know that Rejuvime is a great place, and I think the providers there are amazing and definitely reputable. So it wasn't necessarily a trust in like the risk that was more for me. It was more of the side effects.
So you were more concerned about how it may change your appearance or how you're relating to your body with the weight loss.
I wanted to feel and look better, but I also was like, am I picking a poison with this? Am I going to have a lot of, residual issues?
A lot of the stuff is Ozempic face, and I know probably, obviously being on the aesthetic side of things, it's a very commonly used term.
So look, and we can stress this. So weight loss in younger individuals, and I'll put you on the younger side, trust me, is really extremely beneficial. And unless you're very heavy, most patients' bodies snap back fairly well. It's not like pregnancy where you're getting massive weight gain in one area, your belly, and it's growing very quickly, and you're having these hormone surges.
Yes.
Weight loss in younger individuals with reversal of that weight loss, a lot of patients snap back fairly well. Now, when you get above the age, my age, in the 40s and 50s, weight loss, especially significant weight loss, can significantly alter your appearance. Because, aging process is loss of fat in the face. And then if you put on top of that, oh, by the way, I'm going to lose 30 or 40 pounds because I'm overweight, it accelerates that.
Then
so it can be an issue. And now there's solutions for those problems, and that's what we do.
And you can see them right there at Weiler Plastic Surgery Group in
there
the
are
greater
solutions,
South Louisiana
but no,
area.
that is a legitimate fear, and I'm glad you brought that up. Is so, hey, how is my body going to respond? How am I going to look? How am I going to feel? How am I going to present myself to society, to my friends and family, right? Did you have any fears of people saying, like, knowing that you were on it and like, she's taken the easy way out. Was
Yes,
that
I
was?
did. I
Okay.
definitely was one of those people who I'm like,
Don't
do
tell
I
anybody.
keep it a secret?
Yeah.
Do I let
Right.
them just
Everybody
think that I
just
did
thinks
it?
that I'm
Right.
just doing the most.
Yeah.
And
of
I
you.
couldn't even tell you why. I don't know, because you work out, you look
Yeah.
better, and it's like, what does it matter? Like you said
like,
earlier.
What does it matter?
Yeah.
What does it matter if I'm using something to help? It's
Yeah, look,
like,
I tell people all
it's
the time, like, we don't walk anymore.
No.
We drive cars,
Right.
right? We use a tool
Like-
to get there. We are a modern society. And it kills me, this shaming of using a tool to better yourself, right?
Yes.
We go to
Right.
school to better ourselves. We work out to better ourselves.
And I think it's the only way to like normalize these things. You
Yeah.
know, when I talk to people, I was at my daughter's dance last night with my microneedle face. And while I was there, somebody was like, well, what did you, and I'm like, no, I'm telling you. And then they made a mention. I was like, y'all, I have 5 syringes of filler in my face.
Yeah.
I've got Botox all over. I've got
Right.
microneedling.
Right.
I take hormones.
Right.
I do the GLP-1s,
Right.
all the things. It's normal. It is
Right.
okay to want and to like feel better.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can do it, and you can do it in a natural way
You
and still
can.
feel natural and all
Right.
that. Just to normalize this, we're all doing stuff. It's just
Right.
nobody's talking about
Right.
it.
Exactly right. And I think, Botox 20 years ago, no one spoke about it. Now it's
Yeah.
like everybody asks, who does your Botox? These days, these GLP-1s, the hormone optimization stuff, the anti-aging aesthetic stuff, it's still a little bit taboo. And so it is, obviously, it's my huge pet peeve. You can see.
Yes. And that's why we're doing this
That's why we're doing
podcast.
that
Let's
shaming.
do this. You
Yeah.
know.
So let's get a little more into the actual. So Britt asked you about the consults, right? Let's ask a little bit more. Like, okay, let's kind of walk you through bit by bit. So you go in, you decide, I want to do it.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So take me to the steps. Medication, all that. Like talk to me about your experience. It comes in. What are you thinking? Who did it for you? Did you do it yourself? 'Cause
Yeah,
it was a shot,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah, it's an injection.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask. Like, did you do it yourself or did you go into the clinic?
So I am definitely a weenie. I went into the clinic.
Really? I wouldn't get that out of
That's
you.
I am not
It's
here
so
to judge
funny.
you. Needles are scary.
It's funny. I can microneedle all day, but something about putting a syringe in
To
my
yourself.
own body,
Your
I
own
can't
body,
do
right?
it.
It is.
Hard
It's
task.
tough.
I
It's
can't
tough.
do it.
do
So
it.
I did for I would say honestly, the first 4 injections. I went into the clinic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it was nice. I just was able to pop in. It was super
could do it.
convenient. I felt like they were excited to see me. I wasn't an
They are.
inconvenience. And then I worked the courage up to get my husband to do it. I was even more nervous about that.
I was about to say that seems a little bit more nerve wracking.
Yeah.
Hang on a second, go over there.
Yes.
She's like, no, that's okay. I'm stop by the clinic. But
Right. So, but it's been good. The overall experience is great. It's very convenient. It arrives in the mail,
So
at
it's
my
shipped-
door.
They're shipping it to your
ships
house.
to your house.
Yes.
Okay,
So
that's
you get the
awesome.
supplies at
Yep.
the house, all that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff. I do want to ask. So you have started. You are doing the injections. You do the 4 weeks in clinics. I do know that with the GLP-1s, you're looking at roughly, up to 12 weeks for it to start taking effect and starting to lose some stuff. So how was that for you? When did it start? Like, when did the weight loss start? That side
Yeah,
effect?
absolutely. I would say I actually started to notice it earlier on.
Okay.
I would
Really?
say around week 3 or 4, I
Suggest
really
to you.
started to seeing some.
How do you think it affected you first? Was it more of like you couldn't eat as much, or you just weren't as hungry?
Yeah.
I feel like it took effect immediately. Like
Okay.
even
Okay,
that
like
day.
Do the
yes.
shot, and all of a sudden, I'm not
You're
that
like,
hungry.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm not that hungry.
Okay, great.
Of course, I had a little bit of the side effects just as my body got adjusted to it
Yeah.
initially. So there was a little bit of nausea, some of the indigestion you were talking about. But the appetite suppressing
Right off
definitely
the bat.
kicked in.
Was that easily
Yes.
treated? Like, were you able to just like hit some Tums, call it a day, and you were good to go? So it was
Right.
like manageable.
Yeah,
it wasn't
for
like
sure.
a debilitating heartburn or like nausea or anything like that.
Absolutely. It was definitely manageable, and I feel like I moved through it really quick. So
Oh.
for me, it was like short-term inconvenience
Yeah.
for long-term gains. So with that, it didn't last very long, and my body now is completely adjusted to it. So I don't deal with any of
There
the
you
side
go.
effects.
And one of the things I always tell patients is, one of the great things about semaglutide is I do tend it finds it acts immediately, right?
Yeah.
You do that injection, you feel it that night or that morning, the next day of with the appetite suppressant. You can have those immediate side effects. It is a dose-dependent medication, right? So as you ramp it up, it becomes more effective. Now, some
Yeah.
Right.
people like yourself, you're a small lady, and some ladies, with smaller ladies, you don't have to go too high
Yeah.
on your dose. So that first dose, you feel it immediately. Other patients that are going to need that higher dose, they may say, I didn't feel very much.
Yeah.
I think it's very different than like we do a lot of hormone replacements, right? Or optimization. And the hormones, it takes time to build that level. It's a
Yeah.
little bit different. With the semaglutide, if you know that, hey, this initial introductory dose is going to be effective for me, it's right off the bat.
Yeah.
Now some people are like, I didn't really feel it, and they may feel it 2 or 3 months later when they go to that double dose
next
or that
dose,
triple
right.
dose. But it's one of those medications, like, it works, right?
Right.
You know when you took it, you know, oh, I'm not that hungry. One of the issues is dehydration people can get with it, right? So because you just don't have that push
That
to
want.
drink or eat,
Yeah.
that want, so you do have to like actively drink water,
Yeah.
which is healthy, but you're in
I was about
you're in
to
the business,
say,
you know that.
I was
so.
about to say that skin doesn't look that beautiful because she doesn't drink water.
That's right.
Yes,
You don't get
for
that skin without
sure.
lots of water.
I
in
know.
it.
Sure, but it's in one of those like healthy habits, like you guys talked about earlier,
Yeah.
that it kind of forces you to get into the healthier habits. That if you didn't drink as much water, now you definitely are. Just like you're avoiding the foods
Because
that are gonna.
even like Coke.
Right.
Even Coke, you know, with the amount of sugar and stuff that is in Coke, even Coke can have that, you know, effect to where you're like, ugh, maybe not. Like, maybe not. Let me just, you know, hit the water, maybe get like a little Crystal Light or something, you know, in the water to feel a little better. But so you started feeling it a little bit sooner. Where are you now in your journey? Like, do you feel like you've hit your goal and you're just like maintaining at this time?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of moving into that phase right now. I'm kind of at a spot where I want to lose a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm not ready to fully go into maintenance mode.
Good.
But then I am very comfortable with, you know, the game plan that we've come
Yes.
up with to maintain it after I've hit that goal weight.
Perfect. So feeling better, looking better. How is your confidence since starting the semaglutide?
Definitely a lot better. Like I said, I've struggled with my weight.
Yeah.
I've always been a little bouncy. So it's like I've been here before. I also have children. So I jokingly will say that like I'm getting back to my pre-baby weight, even though it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
There is
Yeah, we all see
absolutely-
ourselves as 18
Yeah.
years old, right?
Right.
17 years old, and we
Right.
all
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's just your mind doesn't change, and,
Right.
and it's you want your body and you want your weight back to where you were before. So, do you feel like this is something that you are going to? And I actually encourage this. Is something that you're going to say, okay, I love when I get to that weight, I want to live at that weight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to continue to do, if I have to go on a maintenance program, I'm comfortable with that. I tell
Yes.
people, these are medications that are very safe long term.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
developed for lifetime.
For
right?
lifetime
For
things.
lifetime.
Yes.
And so you're comfortable saying that this is something that if I want which is my pre-baby weight, which you mentioned, which is awesome, well then I'm going to use B, which is semaglutide,
Yes.
to help me achieve that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You kind of come to terms with saying,
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And
Good.
I knew that going into it too, that this is recommended for long-term
long-term
use. And I
thing.
think that's also another reason that I decided to go this route,
Yeah.
because a lot of the other weight loss options are short-term, temporary.
there are no.
It's the burst.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly right. There's
It's the
nothing
burst.
out there beyond a GLP-1 that is really recommended lifetime.
Yeah.
That can really sustain that weight and make you healthier.
Right.
You know, make you healthier. So I freaking love it.
I know. I
I do
good.
too.
So, I know, one of your concerns was your skin
Yeah.
and how do you feel like, did you have like,
Yeah.
did you feel like you need like any treatment or anything for your skin or anything like that? Or
So no, actually the opposite. I feel like because it's making me make healthier decisions, drink more water, not eat
Yes.
as much of that bad like fried or greasy food because it'll irritate the stomach. My skin's actually reacting better because I'm not putting.
So there you go.
Yes.
So not only
It helps with so many other
like,
things.
Not only are you healthier and everything, you could have absolutely
awesome. Yes.
stunning skin
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and
Thanks
thank you
for
so
having
much
me.
for telling your story and letting us know everything. I know
Giving us your time. Being
yeah,
here.
yeah,
We
for
appreciate
sure.
it.
giving your time. I know these are very sensitive,
sensitive.
vulnerable
Right.
conversations. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing
Yes.
your experience. And that's all we have for today. And so thanks for tuning in to the Consult Before the Cut. We hope you found valuable insights to your guide. To guide your journey. Remember, every decision counts. Take your time, seek advice, and always consult before you cut. Until next time, stay informed and stay inspired. We'll see y'all later, guys.
Thank you guys.